cork. You might be wondering what I'm doing with this cork. Well, I'm actually demonstrating some of Newton's laws of motion. Now, the first law of motion simply says that an object at rest is going to do nothing. It's going to stay at rest unless it's acted upon by an outside force, such as me giving it a flick or pushing it. Newton's second law says that the force depends on the mass of the object, and it also depends on the acceleration. Now, the acceleration is the rate of change in the speed. So think about acceleration like pressing down on the accelerator pedal in your car. So Newton's second law, F equals ma, force equals mass times acceleration, says that the heavier the object is, the more force you need to give it to get it to move. So it is easy for me to flick this cork and get it to move. Not so much with the stapler. The stapler has a higher mass, okay? So, acceleration, again, is the rate of change in the speed. So, if I want this to move slowly, I would just give it a little push. If I want it to move fast, I have to give it a much bigger push, a bigger force. Now, Newton's third law of motion says that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So, let's hope the laws of physics are working today. So I am pushing against this whiteboard as hard as I can. And thankfully, I'm not falling through the wall. That would be a bad thing. Might amuse you, would not be good for me. So why am I not falling through this whiteboard if I'm exerting a force on it? Because the whiteboard is pushing back at me with an equal and opposite force. So I'm pushing on the board with a certain amount of force. The board is pushing back at me with the exact same strength force, but in the opposite direction. Those two balance, and therefore I don't fall through the whiteboard. If I exerted a heavier or larger force than the board, I'd go through the board. If the board was exerting a larger force, I'd go flying across the room. Same thing for this cork. Why is the cork not falling through the table? Because the mass of this cork is exerting a force on the table. But the table is exerting an equal and opposite force on the cork, so the cork does not fall through the table. Newton's laws of motion, the wonders of physics.